So, main character who is going through this internal conflict goes up against this antagonistic force. By the end of this video, we're going to be answering two questions. What is a log line, and how do we create one? Now, this video is going to be jam-packed with a ton of examples, so you're going to want to stick around to the end. So back in the day, a log line was something that producers put on scripts for them to determine if they're going to read it or not. A log line is a 1 to 2 sentence attention grabber for your film, and it's meant to signal to your audience whether or not it's a story that they're interested in. So yes, your log line will inform your audience what your film is about, and also, if your log line is doing its job correctly, they should want to see more. A log line gives viewers an instant understanding of your story's genre and informs them what's at stake. Now, this log line gives audiences a sense of how complicated or simplistic accomplishing said goal will be. If you can help it, hopefully you constructed your log line well before you started writing your story. Why? Because constructing your log line first is going to keep your story on track. It's going to keep it honed in on that main character's goal. The moment you start bringing dragon aliens into the fold, you can look at your log line and say, hey, did my log line allude to any dragon aliens being in this story? The log line should be used to redirect your story just in case you start going into deep, uncharted waters. We should use it to develop our stories into what it's actually supposed to be. Now, let's say we're done with post-production. The film's done. In this stage of the game, your log line is a marketing tool. And the log line is extremely important when it comes to marketing your film because it's one of those first things that your potential audience members will see before they decide to choose your film. Your log line as well as your trailer is going to help potential viewers decide whether they should choose your title or your competitors. It gets them interested so that they can push the buy, rent, or watch option on their remotes. Now we're going to break down the essential elements your log line must have to be compelling. First thing you've got to have in your log line is an adjective First thing you've got to have in your log line is an adjective describing your protagonist. Who are they in your story? Is their occupation crucial to the film? Is where they're from paramount to the story? A middle-aged Chinese immigrant who? A geek who is surviving life. A young FBI cadet. A sullen 10-year-old girl. A group of US soldiers. On his journey to 10,000 subscribers, a lonely like button. But seriously, hit the like button if you can. Now, those are just a few examples of what you could begin your logline with. Now that we've identified and described our main character, or ers, the second thing that has to be in your logline is the goal of your main character. Think about what your main character is trying to accomplish. How hard is accomplishing said goal going to be? Because a great logline gives your audience an idea of how difficult accomplishing said goal will be. Think about it as the destination your MC should get to by the end. Now, this external goal should reflect your main character's internal conflict in some way, shape, or form. Let's take this logline from Leaving Las Vegas, for instance. A Hollywood screenwriter who lost everything because of his alcoholism, ... Did you catch it? Lost everything because of his alcoholism, right? The alcoholism alludes to some internal conflict that the main character is having. So let's take it a step further. Really quickly, there are 5 triggers that usually cause internal conflict. 1, desire, or something your main character wants. 2, need, something your character or someone associated with your main character requires for survival. 3, duty, some obligation that character feels is right or necessary. 4, fear, or a strong worry that drives that character. 5, expectation, or something that your main character feels obligated to do. Now, when a character experiences 2 or more of these triggers at a given time, your character has internal conflict, causing your characters to feel fear, doubt, confusion, or distress. Now let's take this logline, for instance, created by a slam dance reader for one of my scripts. A police executive combats a powerful gang antagonist, we'll get to that in a sec, while looking for one of her missing foster children. Looking for one of her missing foster children is my MC's primary goal. Now, the internal conflict isn't necessarily spelled out, but it's alluded to because I've got all 5 of those triggers wrapped up in one problem. No mother desires to have a missing child. They need to protect them. It's their duty. They fear their loss, and they expect to be the one to keep them safe. Now, the next part of your log line has got to be the biggest obstacle your MC encounters. So, main character who is going through this internal conflict goes up against this antagonistic force. Or a main character who is doing this main goal or desire comes into conflict with this antagonistic force. One thing that you've got to remember is that your main character's goal should tie into his or her central conflict, which, if you don't know what a central conflict is, I've made videos on what that is, so please check it out if you haven't already. Now, according to the late Blake Snyder, your logline will have a sense of irony in it. Or I like to think of it as that thing that makes your story like that much more interesting. Because you're gonna have a main character who is this way come up against something that he or she completely opposes. It's the thing that's the complete opposite of what he or she stands for or is trying to do. And we know that we as indie filmmakers have got to be a bit more strategic with our marketing tools because we have limited resources. And irony could be that missing piece that helps your title compete with a bigger title. Quick example of irony. A teenage operative who struggles to pull his family away from a life of violence is pitted against trained killers. So there is a sense of irony about this, right? You're trying to pull your family away from violence, yet you're being pitted against trained killers. So it just goes to show you that there's gonna be conflict upon conflict here. And that's what people find interesting. The audience is like, so he's trying to get his family away from violence, but he's an operative, a spy, so dangerous life there. And he's pitted against trained killers? A middle-aged Chinese immigrant is swept into an insane adventure in which she alone can save existence by exploring other universes and connecting with the lives she could have led. Notice that the central conflict is really nicely baked in there, and you'll see that it's common amongst small indie features because they're trying to be noticed as opposed to big, Chris Nolan tentpoles. Leaving Las Vegas logline. A Hollywood screenwriter who lost everything because of his alcoholism arrives in Las Vegas to drink himself to death. There he meets and forms an uneasy relationship and non-interference pact with a prostitute. During her family's move to the suburbs, a sullen 10-year-old girl wanders into a world ruled by gods, witches, and spirits, a world where humans are changed into beasts. A young FBI cadet must receive the help of an incarcerated and manipulative cannibal killer to help catch another serial killer, a madman who skins his victims. Now, this whole logline is guilt-ridden with irony here. You want to catch a killer by consulting a killer. A controversial true crime writer finds a box of Super 8 home movies in his new home, revealing that a murder case he is currently researching could be the work of an unknown serial killer whose legacy dates back to the 1960s. One for Lightyear. A huge underrated movie, by the way. I enjoyed this movie like a lot. It's basically Interstellar, but animated. Don't know why a lot of people didn't enjoy it. Anyway, while spending years attempting to return home, marooned space ranger Buzz Lightyear encounters an army of ruthless robots commanded by Zurg, who are attempting to steal his fuel source. Definitely subscribe if you're new. Check out my film if you haven't so we can chat about it in the comments later. If you're a filmmaker, definitely grab yourself a Clover Key. It's a camera plate screwdriver and a bottle opener I created for you guys to support the channel. It's always a pleasure talking to you guys. Until next time, peace.